How do you put people into your scenes? That's a question I get asked all the time, and in this video I'm finally gonna solve that mystery for you, hopefully. And I'm gonna show you very common scenarios of where the people are head level, and then the heads are all the same height, and then if you look from above, it changes. If you look from a bridge, like in the Brooklyn Bridge painting, it changes. If you look at a street that goes uphill, it changes. I want to solve these common scenarios for you and show you exactly how you'd work people into these kinds of scenes, because I know a lot of people are struggling with it. So with that being said, let's get started. So I'm going to start with the simplest scene I can think of, which is just having all people at the same head level. So what happens is this. Let me draw the scene for you, it'll make it a little clearer. This is actually a picture I took, and I already made a large painting based on that for a gallery, so I'm pretty familiar with it. So I created a frame. Now, let's find the horizon line. And how do you do that? You find the vanishing point. It's very simple. I'm going to go over it quickly because that's not the main point of the video, but we'll get through it, okay? So can you see this building here, the rounded Bauhaus type of building? That's a very interesting kind of building you can find here in Tel Aviv. Can you see the line of the road here, the street, and then another very gentle one here? These are all parallel lines that when you connect them, you'll find a vanishing point. So if I connect all of these, I'll find that the vanishing point, this line of buildings, this street, goes somewhere around here. It's not accurate, but it is kind of there. The horizon line is on that vanishing point. Now, if you don't want to go through all of this, just look at where the sky and the ground is kind of divided. You'll find a vanishing point too. So here's the sky, here's the ground, so somewhere around here. Now, here's what happens. I took this picture from my own point of view. So I was just standing there, put the iPhone in front of my face and took the picture. So what happens is all people are going to cut through the horizon line, because they're the same height as me. Whatever cuts through the horizon line indicates what your height or your point of view's height is. So this woman that's closest to us, she's pretty much at the height of the horizon line. Maybe a little lower, maybe because she's just shorter. But she's kind of that same distance, and here's her hand, here's the back strap, and here she is. This person a little farther, same thing, he cuts through the horizon line. You see? And here's his body. Doesn't really matter the details here. Smaller, perhaps. Here we go. Every person you'll choose in this scene, unless it's a kid and they're really shorter, or someone who's extremely tall, are going to follow this rule. So a random person here, just look at them. Here's the head cutting through the horizon line, and here's their body. A random person farther in the distance, smaller head, and here we go, just the person there. If I want to place someone closer to us, big head, because they're closer, just a square for the body and the legs. You see, no matter where you're going to place a person through this scene, it's going to conform to this rule. And this is the simplest kind of scene to do, because all the people are just, their heads will cut through the horizon line. Now let's imagine we're going lower, okay? And because I've been asked a lot about how to place people in a scene. Let's imagine our point of view is we place the camera somewhere on the ground, or in a very short tripod. So same placement for the horizon line, but this time, it's not the people's heads that are gonna cut through the horizon line, but rather their feet. And notice what this does to your sense of the scene. Legs, okay? A person that's in the distance, there's their legs. Notice how it feels like we're viewing this from a very, very low angle. You see here, a person that's far in the distance, same kind of thing. You see, we're viewing this from below, okay? The buildings maybe are going to be very tall and kind of gloomy. We'll barely see the sky. You see, we lowered our point of view in essence. Here's the street. Maybe it's somewhere around here. And maybe there's an ant here. Right next to us, here's an ant just walking about her day. I don't even know how to draw an ant. But you see, it's a very low angle. But this is just a head angle. So this is the head level kind of a thing. Now let's move on to the next scene. I'm going to show you what happens when we go from above to contrast with this one. So here's an aerial photo, more of an aerial thing I took on a rooftop of a building. The horizon line, just look at where the sky meets the land. It's somewhere around here. Here's the horizon line. Okay? The buildings here on the left all conform, the general shape of them conforms to that horizon line. The street conforms to that horizon line. You see how that works? Right side, same thing, buildings kind of conform to that. The street kind of conforms to that. And here we have this main junction. Now notice what happens as our angle gets a little higher, our point of view. Okay, I hope you can tell these are buildings. There's a taxi here, whatever, street elements. The person walking on this crosswalk here is this tall. The person farther is taller. When you look at the painting, they're higher up. That's because the angle is so high. Now imagine we're going down and down and down and down in the angle until we get to this point eventually. And then even lower until we get to this point. Okay, just go outside, look at the buildings, try and hold your phone, take pictures at several different heights, or just maybe crouch and see what the street looks like, okay? So this is how you have to slowly learn to intuitively see what the scene looks like and where to place the people in. And this is the most common one, to be honest. You'll see so many of these because you stand at this height. When you stand outside, you do a plein air, you stand at a person's height. You're usually not at a vantage point unless, you're looking at the city from above, okay? So try and recognize these different manifestations of perspective and where to place the people in. And a lot of it has to do with eyeballing. You won't know exactly where to place this person, but you will just place them and see if it works out. My goal here is not to give you a formula for calculating, for example, this is the bottom part of the sidewalk. This is the bottom part of the sidewalk. The person is here on the sidewalk. Do a line that's this long from there. Put the head here. This is not my goal here. My goal here is to teach you an overarching kind of philosophy for recognizing, based on the scene you're painting, where to put the people in, okay? Or drawing, whatever. So this is another example. Now let me show you a different one. Here we're looking from a vantage point too, but here it's more of a matter of levels. We're not looking from up above. This is the painting of me that you've seen probably of Brooklyn Bridge. The bridge is here. That's the bridge. That's the horizon line. Just look at where the ocean meets the sky. There's the building on the side. Here's the perspective. This is already the bridge. There's a car on the bridge. Let me get some of the details in just to anchor you in the scene rather quickly. Obviously, I'm not accurate. It should go like this. That's fine. Bridge, some bridge elements, fairly dark. So here's the thing. Here we have a different matter. This is a matter of two levels. We have one level that's the bridge and one level that's under it, which is the street. The top level, if you see a person here next to the car, they'll be kind of like this, looking down from the bridge. But if you look at the person there, it really varies depending on where they stand. If they're close to us, let's say down there, they're gonna be here. Probably smaller, but I just want you to be able to see something. And if there'll probably be a dot somewhere around here. You see, if the person is going to stand on the roof of the car, they're going to be here because it's a different level. We have this level, we have this level, and we have this level. You see, these are all different levels, so you can get these cases too. So I want you to have this another kind of a scenario in mind, okay? Now let me show you just a slight incline of the street, but let's exaggerate it. Let's actually exaggerate it. So I'm showing you a picture, but I'm going to exaggerate it. Here's our frame, and the street goes up. It's very hard to see, but imagine a San Francisco street with, it goes up like that with the buildings to the sides, like so. And hopefully that makes sense. Imagine this is the sidewalk perhaps, right here. When you get this scenario, looking up a street that goes uphill, a person that's closer to us perhaps is going to be this tall, but a person who's here at the very edge of the street is going to appear to be taller, okay? So this is another thing to have in mind. If we have someone really close to us, they're going to be really low down here, but they're still larger. Okay, so larger person doesn't necessarily mean taller. It's in the context of the scene. This is incredibly important to understand. The next time you look at a scene that goes uphill and it's really felt, you'll be able to catch this. Same goes for a car. If a car would go, let's say down the street in this example, like this, so that's a car, a really bad car in perspective. But then this car that's really farther coming towards us is going to be here. You see how that works? And these lines, by the way, converge to a different vanishing point than the horizon line. The horizon line, who knows where it is? It could be here, it could be there. Who knows? It kind of goes around that. You see? So this is another scenario to have in mind. The picture you see here has a very mild incline. It's very mild. If you look at the people in the cars especially, you'll see that in this example you have the car that's closest to us is here. It's kind of like that. And then, this is a pretty big car. But then the car that's farther is taller than it. The car here is a little taller. The car there at the very distance is even taller. If you look at this, the painting, the drawing or the scene as a flat plane, you see? It's smaller, it's farther, but it's taller. These are hints you want to look for to realize that the street goes uphill. And then you know that when you place a person next to the car is a very strong hint. A person here is going to be this tall, and a person here is going to be here, this small but taller. Okay, you really want to pay attention to these different things and figure out how they work. Okay, now last example that I don't even know if it matters this much, but I'm going to show it to you. So this is a picture I took in Central Park. Now here's something very interesting happens. On the one hand, let's do the horizon line randomly at somewhere around here, because this is where you see mostly sky and then you see mostly land. Okay, it's not accurate, you have to eyeball it sometimes. But here's what's interesting. If you've been there, you know that this fountain here, it's actually, this goes uphill towards us. So what should happen is the people that are closer to us should be taller than the people in the background. So if we get a person here, the person in the background should be shorter, appear to be shorter, but that's not what happens here. The people in the background appear to be taller, so or they're more above. So how does that happen? Well, it's very simple. What I did when I took this picture is I raised my hands upward and I took the picture from a bit of a higher, taller point of view. So instead of taking the picture at my head's height, I went a little taller. So what happens is, remember, when you look at the scene and your level head level, you'll see the people here. But as you go a little taller, let me show you once again, what will happen is the horizon lines here. So what you will get is this person is closest to us. This person is closest to us. And this person is farther. You see what happens? The people in the horizon line separate and you look at it from a higher angle. So this person appears to be taller when in fact they're the same height, exact same height. If you go lower, and by the way, they conform to the perspective. If you go lower angle, what will happen is the person closest will be the tallest, and the person farther will be shorter. You see what happens? And the person here that's really close to us is going to be really tall, that they're out of the frame, because this also conforms to perspective. You see, so you have to have all of these things in mind. What happens here? It goes up. But I took the picture from a higher angle. And because the area here is lower, I had an even easier time of taking that picture. So it looks like all of the crowds and masses of people here are taller than the people that are closer to us, when in fact it's not the case. And then look at the stairs here. This makes sense. The stairs here, people are taller because they go up the stairs. You see, and I know this is a very kind of loose interpretation of the scene, but this is the main thing to have in mind. This is the foliage, some trees, some greens here, and the people. Okay, I know it's a very, very odd and simplistic interpretation of it, but hopefully that makes sense. Okay, people's shadows move towards us, and these people are taller because they go up the stairs. Okay, that's all there is to it. I hope this makes sense. I hope you now realize what happens when you're a head level, when you're a little lower from an ant's view, when you look from a little higher from, I don't know, an aerial photo, when you have different levels, and finally when there's a strong incline like here, or a strong incline with a different point of view from which the picture was taken. With that, let's wrap it up. I hope you found this helpful. Let's do this face to face. So thank you so much for watching. This is it for this one, and I really hope this helps. Let me know in a comment down below your thoughts. I especially love this scenario where the street goes uphill and you really get to see how it all stretches and people seem to be of different height, but in fact they're just really influenced by the different perspectives. Okay, this conforms to a different vanishing point. This is really important, and again, my goal here is not to teach you perspective because it's a whole different topic and I talked about it in previous videos. What I aim for with this is to show you the blueprint for several of the very common scenarios so that when you're out there, you know how to tackle these Let me know if you have any follow-up questions down below. It's really important because this is a concept I feel like I'm breaking down here really well, but I do want to get your input on it. And again, it's not perfect measurement. A lot of it has to do with eyeballing it, but once you know what to look for, it's much easier to eyeball it. So I hope that makes sense. If you want to solve the mystery of drawing, I always have a link to my beginner's drawing course. It doesn't talk about perspective this much, it's more about how to draw accurately what you see. So be sure to check that out if that's something that you're interested in. It's a very direct approach. It's nothing, you know, anatomy and complex. It's good for some people, it's not for others, but a lot of people have found it helpful. And another thing, if watercolor is what you're struggling with, be sure to check out the frustration-free watercolor course down in the description box below. It's always there, and I think it's honestly the best course out there on how to make the painting process more fun, let go, enjoy it, and still maintain accurate results. Okay, so I hope you'll check these out. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you again in the next vid real soon.